ha! Color Flight! The horde is mine! Ha ha!
Join the team.
Hey team, this is the McGuire review, and we're going to take a look at a very cool game that is not necessarily new to the market by any means, and most D&D players will know exactly what this is, but it is WizKids' brand new version of 3DA, or Three Dragon Ante. Now this is a really cool game. This is the Legendary Edition. This game has been played for some time now in the fantasy realm worlds and the taverns of Dungeons and Dragons. You can play this in-game, and you can also play this as a complete standalone game as well, which is very cool. So if you don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, you don't play Dungeons and Dragons, this is still a very cool card game to pick up. It's very simple, that you can play with your friends, and you don't even have to be a gamer to really get into this. It is a very traditional card game. So let's take a quick look. This is going to be a bare minimum run of Three Dragon Ante. There is a nice box here that WizKids gives their Legendary Edition. It's a nice thick box, 30 minutes, 14 plus, and 2 to 6 players on this one. It's got a really cool kind of black felt interior. Then it's got there 2 areas cut out for the cards, and the money actually comes in a bag. There is a small plastic, here it is, a small plastic bag that they do include in the game. Bear, hold that, thank you. That all the money will fit in, and you can kind of shuffle that out and get it nice and flat in the top of the box, and everything fits securely, snugly right back in, which is nice. I was a little worried once I popped all the coinage that they give you. These coins are awesome, nice high quality cardboard. We got our single coin, and then we got our 10 pieces here. I was a little worried when I popped them all out that they would fit actually back in the box, but they do fit just fine back in the box. And then a really cool D&D, your and symbol there right on the box. Pretty awesome, okay? So that is the box that we've got for the new Legendary Edition. They do include some ready tokens and some expended tokens. One side saying expended, one side saying ready. That's just for you as a player when you are ready to go or you're done. You can use these tokens to indicate that. They have the base cards. We already went over the awesome coinage and the money that we have. There are some reference cards. There are 6, 1 for each player up to the max of this game. And one side is going to give you the special flight rewards. There are 2 different types of flights that you can do in this game. We'll talk about that here in a second. But one of them is a color flight and one of them is a strength flight. And that just comes into play when you are playing your flight over the course of the game or the course of that round, and you're putting cards out in front of you. You'll put up to 3 cards out in front of you. That will be your flight. If at any point in time you can match all the colors of those cards, then you'll get a certain special ability. If you can get all of them having the same strength, there will be another special ability that you can get as well. So there is some benefit in maybe not just playing the most powerful cards every time, but trying to get sets or suits of cards out in front of you that give you triggered special powers. The cards themselves actually have little special powers on them as well. I'm going to hit the rulebook really quick. It's got a great rulebook. It's got that nice sepia background with the dark text, so it's really easy on the eyes to go through. Only a few pages of rules. Then it's going to give you a couple of pages. We're going to get some play example, which is really nice just to make sure that you understand all the rules in the game. Although the way the rules are explained, it's very straightforward and very simple. It's going to go over the different types of flights that you can get. And then there's also some building games and theme decks. So there's lots of pages here in the book that actually will go over various slang that you can use as you're playing and different ways to set up the game. In-world options, here are some options for how to build decks phrased the way they're discussed in D&D worlds. So that's really cool as well. If you are a D&D player, you can use this within the taverns amongst your players and really get into the lore of how that would be played within the D&D world. And then it's going to have quite a few pages just going over all the different types of dragons and cards in the game and what those cards specifically do. Now, it is very easy. It's printed right on these cards, but if you do want to use this as a reference, all the cards are right here in the book. And that's what you're going to find in their manual. Let's take a look really quick at the actual cards of the game. Now, these are all going to be dragons. Pretty much everything that is a standard card in this game is going to be a dragon card. And those are various different types of dragons you can see there. We got blue dragons and black dragons and white dragons and green dragons and gold dragons. And they do have different abilities as well. So every card's going to follow the same look here. We are going to have a strength value right up here, this number. You're going to have some artwork on that card. It's either going to be a mortal or a dragon. We'll see those here in these special cards. And then it's going to have an ability at the bottom. Not all of them have that, but this here says draw a card for each gold dragon in your flight. So these will only trigger if there are other things within your flight that allow them to trigger. So, for instance, this one says draw a card for each gold dragon in your flight. So if you were to play one other gold dragon and then play this again, you would then have 2 gold dragons in your card, and you'd be able to draw up to 2 cards. So you want to utilize those powers at the bottom. You will have 6 cards in your hand when you start the game, and you want to use those cards in a combination that makes the most sense for you for that round as you're building that 3-card flight. And that's how these cards all will work. The other type of card here that you have are special cards they included, which are the legendary dragon cards as well as the mortal cards. So we got some different types of classes you would find in D&D, different people. They call these the mortal cards. This is the dragon rider. We've got a druid here. Here's the druid mortal. And these are cards you can get with your draw as well. Now, only a certain number of these special cards will be shuffled into the primary deck. You'll shuffle those all out, and then you'll divvy out the cards. So it is a chance if you get one of these legendary cards or you get one of the mortal cards. They are a little bit more powerful than the cards you're going to get that are just kind of the base standard dragon cards in the game. So for instance here, the druid, the player with the weakest flight wins the gambit instead of the player with the strongest flight. So if you actually are able to play this and you have the weakest flight, which if you were going to play this card, you'd want to play all low number cards in your 3-card flight to make sure that you do have the lowest. And that's probably the one that you're going to want to play last in the flight, so you give other players the minimal chance to be able to come back on that and try to get lower than what your numbers are. Because again, the druid is going to allow you to win with the lowest total flight score versus the highest. And that's just a simple example, but all of these cards will be included in the game, and they are just kind of an extra nice little thing to add into the base cards here. So very quickly, kind of the gist of this game is all the players will start with 6 cards, and everybody around the table in player order will play an ante card, which means they'll play 1 card out in front of them, and the highest strength ante card, if there are some ties, there are certain rules that will take place where you'll discard and you'll put, if everybody's tied around the table, you'll discard and you'll start over. If there are any ties around the table, it is the highest card that is not tied. So if there's 2 12s that are played and then there's a 10, the 10 will be the player that will go first. And then what you will do is every player around the table, whatever that highest ante card that is the technically the winner or the start player, every player will put that much gold from their personal hoard into the center of the table. It's very easy when you start the game. You basically take how many players there are and you multiply that by 10, and that's how much gold each player starts with. So for instance, if there was 3 players, every player would start with 30 gold. You would take a set number of your gold and you'd put it, you can get change from the main hoard there, but you'd put it in the center of the table. And now nothing else would happen with that ante card that was played around the table. So if these were the cards that ended up getting played, the winner would be the green here. That would be the ante card that would win. That would be the number that everybody would need to put into the center of the table. So everybody would put 10 gold into the center of the table, and that would be the pot for the course of that round. Now from that player that had won going clockwise around the table, now you will play 1 card at a time into your flight. And again, we talked about how those cards can work in combination with one another. Some cards can even work in combination with other cards and offset other players. And that's Three Dragon Ante. It literally is that simple. It's a very, very simple game, very straightforward game. And you can see that even if you're not really a hardcore board gamer, even if you don't know anything about Dungeons & Dragons, you can still pick this game up, and it's a awesome, awesome card game to play with your friends around the table. So that's WizKids 3 Dragon Ante. hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team. Keep rolling them crits. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time, Bear. Let's roll!